We begin Denver 7 News at 11 with breaking news this morning out of Lafayette. One officer was shot and one suspect is dead after a shooting with police. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta has been following this story live at the scene. Veronica, what are investigators saying this morning?
Well, investigators are saying if you steal a car and then you bring it into Lafayette, they will do their absolutely best to try and find you. The stolen car that was at the center of all this that led to that officer being shot and that suspect being killed. We just saw it be towed about an hour ago or so. You can see the scene here behind me, much quieter than it was really early this morning. You no longer see that police tape. All of those Lafayette Police Department vehicles, those are gone as well. So here's what police say happened. They say that they got an alert from an automated license plate reader about a stolen vehicle in the area of South Boulder in Dixon right after 1 this morning. They said that those police officers then came by this area. They saw this older model Toyota Camry that was sitting at a gas pump at this Circle K here behind me. No one was inside of that car. Police say that they saw two suspects then come out of the convenience store and then run when they saw officers. One of those suspects going toward the car, grabbing a handgun and then starting to shoot at officers. Of course, those officers returned fire, killing one of those suspects, but not before that suspect shot an officer in the leg. And like I mentioned, that really stern warning from officers for car thieves this morning.
We will know if you come into our city, and we will try to locate you. And we were trying to take care of some of that because of the crimes that are committed after somebody actually steals a vehicle. They're committing crimes in those cars.
And I mentioned there were two suspects at the center of all this who came out of the convenience store. We know that second suspect was a girl under the age of 18. Police say they have detained her. We don't know the age of the suspect who was killed here, but we have asked police for an update there. And as far as that police officer goes, we know that he was taken to a hospital and at last check was listed under stable condition. He'd only been a police officer with Lafayette PD for a few months, an officer overall for about 3 years. Jason, back to you.
Our Veronica Acosta live in Lafayette this morning. Veronica, thank you. I want to turn now to more breaking news. After a delay in last night's $2.04 billion Powerball drawing, we've just learned here at Denver 7 at least one winning ticket was sold. The ticket bought out in California. Again, that jackpot, $2.04 billion. A winner in California sold at a service center north of Pasadena. Now, in case you're checking to see if you won any money at all, here are those winning numbers: 10, 33, 41, 47, 56, the Powerball 10. We're still working to get details on if any other big winners came out of Colorado, and if so, where they may be. Well, it's finally here. It is Election Day in Colorado and across the country. You get to decide the governor, federal representatives, statewide and local ballot initiatives, from income taxes to wine and grocery stores. And of course, we are keeping our eyes on the polls throughout the metro and the state today. Denver 7's Brandon Richard has been following the elections all morning long. He's live at Denver election headquarters. Hi, Brandon.
Well, hey there, Jason. Election officials have been reporting a slow but steady stream of voters at polling sites across the city. Of course, there are different ways that you can return your ballot. One of the most popular ways you see these folks taking advantage of is to go through a drive-through like the one they have set up here at the Elections Division. This is so convenient. You just pull up, one of the workers there will take your ballot, and you can be on your way. You don't ever have to get out of your car. Of course, you can also use a drop-off box. There are hundreds of those drop-off boxes across Colorado, many right here in the metro. And of course, today is election day, so there's also in-person voting that you can take advantage of. And the elections division here, this is really going to be the center of the action tonight. This is where they're going to be counting the ballots. And they have a whole process with multiple layers of security, including bipartisan teams of observers to ensure that the ballots are handled correctly. Of course, across the country, including here in Colorado, we've been hearing from some election officials and volunteers worried about their safety. Denver elections officials say due to the current climate, the safety of voters and election workers is their number one priority today.
There's a lot of things going on nationally, and I can't, of course, give away the security playbook, but we just want to make sure that voters understand that they are safe, whether they're using a 24-hour box, whether they're going to one of our vote centers, even if they're going to one of our mobile vote centers. We just want to make sure that they know they have a safe place to vote.
And something else that election officials wanted us to remind you, those ballots must be in by 7 o'clock tonight in order to count. Now, they said they haven't heard of any long lines at polling sites across Denver. However, should you find yourself in a long line at 7 o'clock, as long as you are in line at 7 o'clock, you will be allowed to vote. We're live in Denver this morning. Brandon Richard, Denver 7.
All right, Brandon, thank you. Now, one of the biggest topics since the last election is election security and protecting election workers. Counties across the metro have been preparing for months specifically for today. So let's take a closer look at Adams County specifically, where several safety measures have been put into place, including entrances with badge access only and panic buttons under desks. The Adams County clerk even had to reach out to the sheriff about ways to best protect himself.
I've had some incidences in the past where people have followed me back to my neighborhood, but a bit nerve-wracking. That prompted me to start talking with the sheriff about, personal safety. He recommended that I wear a ballistic vest whenever I feel necessary.
Now, another new law is in place to protect elections. It bans the open carry of firearms at polling locations, counting facilities, or within 100 feet of a ballot drop box. Well, if you need a ride to a polling place in order to vote or a place to drop off your ballot, RTD can help because today is a zero fare day.
We want to make sure we're giving them yet another way of getting that done, of not having anything stand in their way so that they can turn their ballot in. And that's the idea behind this initiative.
RTD even has ballot drop boxes at I-25 and Broadway and Union Station. I dropped off my ballot this morning at the I-25 and Hamden Station parking lot. Now, if you don't have to vote to ride for free, this is the reminder. You don't have to be in the process of voting. That zero fare day is good for everybody. And it might be useful to know whether you mailed your ballot or dropped it off in a drop box. You can check to see if it's been received and counted. All you have to do is log on to govotecolorado.gov. Then click Check My Mail Ballot Status. You'll have to enter your voter information. And of course, we're also keeping an eye on the national races that are going on this election day. At stake, control of Congress and most state houses, with 36 governorships, all 435 House seats, and 35 Senate seats all up for grabs. ABC's Justin Finch has more on this high-stakes midterm election.
Democrats and Republicans campaigning up until the 11th hour, calling in their heavy hitters.
Vote. Get out the vote. You must vote Republican in a giant red wave.
Both parties hoping to win congressional majorities, with all 435 House seats and 35 in the Senate now in play.
It could not be any tighter in Congress.
Meaning control of either chamber could come down to a few races.
Everyone that's willing to go out and go knock on doors and to get out the votes right now, because there is just so much at stake right now.
In Pennsylvania, Mehmet Oz and his Democratic opponent John Fetterman locked in a tight Senate race, casting their ballots this morning and counting on their supporters to turn out.
I'm very proud of how we run this campaign. We want less radicalism and more balance.
The Georgia Senate race also quite tight. Both candidates taking parting shots before Election Day.
You cannot trust Herschel Walker to tell the truth about the basic facts of his life.
And I'm running because I'm sick and tired of people not loving this country.
Senate hopeful J.D. Vance voting Tuesday after former President Trump rallied for him in Ohio.
I think we're in a position where we'll win this race so long as people get out there and vote.
His opponent, Congressman Tim Ryan, trusting the voters.
If you win, you win. If you lose, you concede and you move on. But I feel really good.
Nationwide, record-breaking early voting with more than 44 million ballots already cast. Election officials now advising final results could take days as they process early and day of votes along with mail-in ballots. Justin Finch, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
And of course, Denver 7 has you covered throughout the day from all angles of today's election. On Denver7.com, we have a comprehensive, in-depth voter guide explaining each ballot question to help you make the best decision for you and your family, and a closer look at where each candidate stands on the issues. You can also stream our coverage on the Denver 7 Plus app. You can find full explainer stories, our full election special, and we'll have updates throughout the day and results when they come in later on tonight. To some other news, 2 juvenile suspects were arrested on first-degree murder and arson charges in connection to a deadly apartment fire in Lakewood. That fire happened last Monday at the Tiffany Square Apartments. Kathleen Payton and her 10-year-old daughter Jasmine were killed. 10 others were injured. The suspects are a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. Police will not release their identities because of their ages. They will be back in court on Thursday. Meanwhile, a plan to redevelop Denver's Park Hill Golf Course is taking another step forward. That proposal would turn the abandoned course into a mixed-use site with hundreds of new homes and stores. It's going to a city council committee today. Now, if they approve, the full council then approves, the proposal would then go on next spring's ballot for voters to decide. That's because there's an easement which limits the use of the land to just a golf course right now. Well, it happened this morning and won't happen again for over 2 more years. We've got the pictures of this morning's blood moon lunar eclipse in the skies above Colorado.